everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 7/18/25. We're here with Colonel Randy Cramer today to talk about different various races and different galactic politics, things of this nature. But before we get to this, I must say that I now open the circle to true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for all of us, our friends, our family, our loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love us, let them nourish us, and let them bring us to our highest good. We ask now, and especially now, for benevolence to come in with no conflicting agenda, to be with us here now so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent and mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it. So, Colonel Cramer, tell us a little bit about yourself that our audience doesn't know. And I'm thinking we can go into different race types, some that you think are more prevalent than others. Why don't you start it off for us?
Sure. I'm Colonel Randy Cramer. For those of you who don't know, I'm the original super soldier of the covert military space. I don't like that terminology, but it's been about 13 years or something that I've been doing this, so I was the first one to come forward and talk about it, tell my story, explain that there is a covert military space program that's been going on for better part of 70 some years. Talk about my deployment, which is a 30-year tour, pretty much entirely off-world, 17 years in the MDF, it's the Mars Defense Force, a few years on the Nautilus as a pilot, another decade as a pilot, and a few other things without going into too much detail, and then brought back memory suppression, figure it all out, get my memories back and all that stuff, and that's a long journey that took decades, but it's another whole story. But here I am today. Now I pretty much am the PR officer for the command staff of USMCSS, which is my job to attempt to answer questions and explain things about covert military space program activity to the civilian population, answer questions, try and paint as positive a framework of where we're going while providing as much honest information as possible, not trying to focus on unnecessarily negative traumatic experiences that many people do have, but it's always I'm always solution-oriented, not problem-oriented, so at some point if we're not talking about what a solution to something is, I would feel that I would be off track with that. Mm-hmm. So my job now is pretty much conduct myself as a PR officer, teach meditation, psionic self-mastery classes, do consults for people who are doing memory retrieval stuff with, and yada yada, schmackety stuff like that. So,
and we really agree. So I must say that we've had the time during this conference to get to know Colonel Cramer, and basically I can tell you that we are way more like-minded than I actually even thought we would be. I'm very happy to say that.
Yes, very much.
So I really, it's really been a wonderful, it's been a wonderful conference for us guys. We've met amazing people, and I hope to be able to bring more of them for you to see. So, but I do want to say that, and I appreciate the fact that, again, people really can get caught in a cycle of just circling the toilet with really traumatic stuff. And so I have to applaud the fact of anything being done as far as helping people grow past it so they can continue on. And I've known you did that. But first, right now, go ahead and plug where people can talk with you or see your stuff. You can make sure that everyone knows. We'll do it again at the end.
Yeah, I'm still using my old website, so if this sounds confusing, try not to be. The old website is CaptainRandyCramer.com, so it's CaptainRandyCramer.com. I've had my online courses there, consultations, people can get on my mailing list, and if they want to be updated or wherever I'm explaining or telling people, that's the way to do that. Okay. People want to personally contact me, that's the way to do that. People want to take my classes, that's the way to do that.
All right, that sounds good. Now, as far as different races go, which ones right now on Earth do you think are the most prevalent?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I know that the intergalactic contingent that we're having here at the moment is like a lot.
It's eclectic.
Yeah, and I'm actually meeting some people of species that I've never met before, and some of them are fairly high-level bureaucrats, and I'm realizing that some of these bureaucratic lines are occupied by a lot of certain types of races that I just haven't run into before because they're at this, sort of bureaucracy level that hasn't been my wheelhouse very much. So I'm learning things and meeting species for the first time that have colors and shapes and arrangements that are very, very new to me. So I don't know that a race or a species would be the right answer. It feels like the intergalactic contingent is here and it's very multicultural. And I don't know that.
And again,
I'm really trying to contemplate the question, and I honestly don't know if I could think of a race or a species that's like really. It's not like the old days where someone was at the pinnacle of the mountain, and like we're in charge now. I don't think we're there anymore.
It's all mixed. I just so mixed. Similar. Like there used to be a ruler of the mountain, now there isn't.
Yeah. Now it's ruled by committee for sure.
And we need to add this in. So if you listen to us talk at the conference, we talked and Chris spoke about bracket treaties as to why, because there really is a crackdown of what can happen to us all on Earth. But you guys are written, and we refer to it as a bracket treaty. I think probably you may use a different term. But to talk about the reason you are actually able to do this instead of saying it's all hogwash, the reason that you're actually really able to do this, I think everyone that watches us knows there's way more out there. We've said that we're trying to get into this pre-galactic society state, and there are specific treaties that are written that allow for real information to be given to the public through certain channels, but it is all treaty oriented. So again, this is why someone like yourself would only be able to say certain things at certain times. So we just want to disclose all of that, whereas Chris and I may be a little bit more rogue and try to push the ceiling to get information. If you're involved in a bracket treaty situation, you really are involved in these contractual agreements of when you get basically permission to say certain things. But we do acknowledge that it is our understanding that you are of that type. So the information that is coming from you, because I know that there would be a lot of controversy whether or not, are you just full of crap or, whatever.
Sure, whatever.
So you've been there, you've seen that, done it. But we can lend our support to say, no, this stuff is really for real, and that, hopefully more and more people will be able to speak more of it as time moves on here, and hopefully sooner than later. But we do actually want to say that we do know these things exist, and we do know people are able to speak about it. And in conversation that we've had, you've certainly been able to speak on things that is actually our perception and understanding as well. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
So, and we've discussed several times over the last few days loopholes, right? And how essentially, because the way that all of these treaties and contracts are written, that the use of loopholes becomes incredibly important.
And that's where the brackets are born.
Right. So this is what I want to point out. Article 21, United States Marine Corps Special Section, Special Code of Conduct, Article 21, which is the Emergency Independent Field Commander Clauses, is the loophole under which I was put into this position, which then puts me in the space where I am not subject to the same secrecy agreements that everyone else is. So then I can say pretty much whatever I want without anybody being able to comment.
Yeah, that's the branch. Right?
Yeah. So the things that I don't say really are means and methods. When we talk about like things that are really classified that could endanger like intelligence, from the forces and so forth, means and methods is the things you don't get too specific about. And really there's only a few things that I couldn't talk about because they could endanger Marine personnel. And then there may be a few things that my brigadier and have talked about where it's like, well, probably rather than explain it that way, you might want to simplify it. You might want to really dumb that down to this because this is going to be too complicated. So the truth is I can say whatever I want with like 3 exceptions. Like if I know that it's absolutely means and methods, sorry, I can't talk about that. If it's something, people have asked me a lot about Antarctica, and unfortunately, more often than not, my comment has to be, since Marine Corps personnel are involved, anything that I say that could or may endanger a Marine's life, therefore would be in violation of my ability to speak freely, and so I don't think it would be appropriate for me to comment on that. And again, these very tiny cases of things where it's just like, that's probably too much to talk about, but I'm definitely not in a position where I have to play this game of like I have to keep a list of the things that I can or cannot say or anything like that. I'm very, very liberated to say what I want, with very, very few exceptions that I think are completely reasonable.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I was to answer that question very specifically.
No, and that's what about, because people, you hear online all the time with people talking that, if they're not willing to say everything and everything, they must be not legit.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
No,
And we're just lending our support, saying we actually understand that. So,
complete transparency is asinine.
It really is. Yeah. It really is. There's a reason why we don't have it in the first place, and it's not just to keep people confused. It's really to protect people's lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Or what did Tommy Lee Jones say in the Men in Black movie? There's always an Argelian death cruiser or a death bomb, and the fact that they never know about it is how we do our job. So there's some times where you're doing people the service by not telling them things. You really are. Not that I'm saying that we're in that position where we need to keep doing that, but there's some truth that everybody doesn't need to know everything, or they shit themselves and they'd never sleep.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have people rocking back and forth.
Yeah. Krusty's coming. Krusty's coming. Sorry. I just dated myself for some of you. Sorry.
That's that scene from The Simpsons with that creepy clown. But that's where we're getting that folks. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I do believe that they're disclosing even in hokey ways, like this kind of operation. We've said in private about Stargate and all those other things. Describe that a little bit about with Stargate. How you feel about that?
Oh, I think it's brilliant and hilarious that they've put so much information into just a sci-fi TV series, and they've managed to just cram so much stuff into there. So I have a cast iron statue of an alien that looks kind of similar to what was it? I forget which species there was. It was like his name was Thor. He's a little like pink guy or something. He's got Okay. Yeah. So there's this iron. I think it's bronze or iron cast. This particular alien, that head is the same. Now, I can tell you where this came from. This particular statue was made at the foundry in Roswell. And the cast is taken from a photograph that the kid's great-grandfather took when he was a fireman and made it to the crash site. So allegedly, that is the image and the photograph and the casting of the Roswell ETs, which means the Stargate alien is a carbon copy, an absolute sculpted copy of a Roswell alien. They're the same skull, facial features, and everything. So
that's very interesting. Well, also we were talking about off camera about how there was like the joking factor about Stargate. It was considered hokey and joking for. I can't remember exactly what you called it.
So there was an episode where they're dealing with the fallout of this guy who had known information that might wiped his brain. He wrote his a TV script for a TV show. I think it was
Wormhole Extreme.
Time Wormhole Extreme or something like that, and it was this very, very goofy like reflection of the show that they're doing, and they're talking about, we're going to shut this down, and the general's like, plausible deniability. And as soon as he said plausible deniability, I was rolling on the floor on my gut, because that's exactly what the show is. The show is the plausible deniability, and the joke of the show about plausible deniability had a show inside the show about plausible deniability is the mirror inside the mirror, and I just laughed so hard at that they were willing to hold up that mirror to themselves and go, Aren't we ridiculous?
Isn't this stupid?
Isn't this ridiculous? But aren't we a better production value than this piece of shit would be? Aren't you glad we're doing it?
Glad we're doing this enough.
Right.
And I'm thinking they had this guy in the show writing the script. Somebody steals it from him. I believe they were telling an actual story there.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think the story within of something that actually occurred that then was fictionalized, it's all right there. And it's very.
And there was a channeler in the story that got a piece of alien equipment and got Colonel O'Neill's memories from it, and he wrote the scripts, and then it was the story within the story. I find that hilarious too.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of telling in there. Yeah, a lot of telling.
Mostly, yeah. I'm trying to think. There's also another bit of fiction that I was wondering about the number itself. People have asked me this as well. Section 31 in Star Trek. I know that's fashioned after like groups like the CIA and Covert Ops and all this other stuff. Does the number have significance to you, like Section 31?
I mean, I've heard a lot of things thrown around, but I think the 31 is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Section 13.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of Section 13.
What's that one entail?
Nobody knows.
Oh, okay.
It's Section 13 is, you hear, I heard it was Section 13. Oh, shit, Section 13. What do you know about Section 13? I don't know. Do you know anything? I don't know.
Right.
So it's a running joke.
But enough of an unknown that everyone's still a little terrified of it. If someone says, we already got it from Section 13, so shit, I better go look busy over there.
That's
right?
like Hangar 13.
Yeah. Just and let's just talk about the human psychology of deciding to call something 13. You're naturally going, boogeyman, right? I mean, so just calling it that is enough that someone in the psych department was like, if we call it Section 13, that'll sound scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that actually mean something in the numerology? Maybe, or maybe not. But I think in this particular case, it's just a sort of. It's a general label that's supposed to have a creepy feel. Mm-hmm. So Section 13 sounds creepy.
So they flipped it to 31.
They just flipped it to 31 because if they'd done 13, someone might have given them the evil side eye. And, they like a lot of things, if they just change it a little, right? So they couldn't say Section 13, but if they just said Section 31, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, well then no one's gonna care.
No one's gonna care.
So
I've also seen that pop up in different places where I know there's base entrances as well.
Right.
Lincoln, Nebraska, for instance. Went back there. My grandfather was actually involved in a lot of the same stuff you are. And he, when they closed the Lincoln Air Force Base, he basically said they're completely full of shit, and he called their process Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Yeah.
And him and my grandmother were like in the thick of it as well. In a cemetery called Wyuka Cemetery in the middle of Lincoln, right above where a lot of this is underground, there is a sign. Of course, it's all cordoned off by sections.
Right.
But then the one that stood out that had this big surrounding circle around it was Section 31. And I could sense there was volume beneath there. Not just the graves, it was like an entry down.
Yeah.
And I noticed 31 pops up with entrances to base entries and stuff like that. Yeah, I've noticed this same pattern, Section 31, Section 31. I've noticed this pattern.
Okay, I hadn't heard that. I would say that's enough evidence to be interested in that number, yeah.
I've seen it at stores too, just like at Walmart. I've seen a 31 label on an entrance that goes underneath too. So I worked at Walmart for several years. And
so you may be onto something I'm unaware of then, so
I just was following the number pattern.
Yeah.
And in the back of the stores, there is a door that has no knob. And I caught somebody opening it one time. They had a magnetic doorknob, and they opened it, and it was somebody in a military uniform that went inside it. I just happened to catch it. And they made so they can come out of it, not necessarily go in, but to get into it, they use this special key. And they went underneath, and I just happened to see this. I wanted to run up there and hold the door open, but I'm like, no, I don't want to go to prison. But I heard they were staging areas just in case there was a war, that like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart's, all of them were staging areas. And I caught in 2022, no, it was 2021. We were at a Walmart, and I personally ran into a soldier that was out of frequency. Literally bumped into this woman.
Yeah.
And she was literally at the 8-foot mark. and I'm looking up at her like a Spartan in Halo, and I bumped into her. She had this spooked look on her face. She goes, "Oh, fuck," and then runs off. And then I noticed this energy fluctuation when I banged into her with my frequency. I could see all these soldiers, at least 300 of them in the store, and they were out of phase, and they were preparing for something, and then the something didn't happen. And because it got all screwed up, but I literally physically ran into this lady. So, would you have a clue of what that operation could have been?
That sounds way too general for me to be more specific about, but I would say that just from what I've heard about, like at what level will they go to hide an entrance? You know, like how much of a storefront is a front? You know, with the refrigerator, you know, with the Coke machine that opens up, and you know, I mean, we used to have speakeasies, right? Let's just bring this back to something like super concrete. We used to have speakeasies, which means we used to have places with secret entrances all over town, all over the country, that people used all the time and kept pretty secret from people that they didn't want coming to drink their booze, right? So the military personnel and civilian personnel have been doing this kind of thing for years. I am originally from the state of Oregon, and the capital of Oregon is Salem, and there is the city hall, the state capital, the mental hospital, and the state prison. They're not too far from each other. They're like, half a mile or in this kind of triangular area. And it wasn't until recently that the State Historical Society went ahead and told that there was actually this tunnel system that went from the state capitol to the prison, and to the mental hospital, and to this underground boxing arena, which is still there. Okay, that the state government officials would go down to, and they would get their favorite boxers from the mental hospital and from the prison and box it out in fights. And this is not conspiracy theory. You can go there and you can visit it as a museum, as a historical museum site now. So again, not conspiracy that we are maybe happen. These are the known things that we know. So to presume, I bet that never ever happened ever again after that, and that was absolutely the last time anyone ever tried anything like that. And then I say that out loud, and that sounds dumb.
That sounds dumb.
Right? That sounds dumb if I say that out loud.
Lincoln, Nebraska was like that too. From the Capitol to the governor's mansion to the school I went to, Lincoln High. Yeah. I came to find out they had been trafficking children through there from the school system. Yeah. In there, and it was very similar.
Yeah. So my conclusion would be that if we know, again, without any conspiratorial, tones, we know that something like that is occurred, then the what could else be does become a lot more tangible. And so to ask the question, how many different underground options are there? Well, probably a lot. Well, and that means and since the military intelligence complex is the smartest and biggest spenders of money, if they're going to build something underground and want it to keep secret because that's what people do, they're going to do it better than anybody else. So of the things that I know of, and against means and methods, you notice I'm not being specific about those means and methods, but I am being very clear about what we know, and therefore what's in this empty space is, I'm sure, a lot of other options and indications and actual situations where you have these things underground and people able to go from. So I would just say that anywhere you've got a military installation like that, it's obviously very secret, it's obviously very covert, whatever they're trying to do, they're trying to keep under their hat, but they're also keeping it, they want it close enough to a surface or a location to be respondable to something. And so that sounds like everyone was getting ready to stage, and then, never mind. Okay, we were, let's get everyone out, and we're ready to go out the door, and then...
Yeah, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think...
But the what could that have been?
Right. But I agree with you, and I think
one of 1,000.
I think you're bringing up a good point by saying that, because again, it's our understanding, and I think you can confirm this, that first of all, this type of stuff to be prepared for the what ifs that people don't know about has been actually happening way longer than people even imagine,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
first of all. And that, as we would say, the warring out there has never stopped. You know
No.
what I mean? It's been in one
One form or another, yeah.
or another.
For sure.
And so, we can at least, say that, although adding to specifics of the possibilities are there because these are the experiences, that people have been having. So I'm always thinking, people bringing this up now, they're actually feeling, that it's only been within their lifetime, and we try to say, oh, you have no idea, it's something way, way longer than what you
Sure.
think. And we're still here. And I think that's important to point out, so, because I don't like to really scare people, but the point is, this stuff's been going on forever, and
Yeah.
we still stand, so, and we'll still be standing, but just to open your mind that it really is a big picture, and a part of what will be happening over these next few years, again, is to bring people into a better understanding of what's really been all around them, but not to scare them to death when we do it.
Mhm.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully.
Right, no, I
Hopefully,
agree. I mean,
yeah.
there will always be collateral. There
Yeah.
will be, because somebody's belief systems will not change.
Yeah.
And it will be painful, and people will be in shock, and there will be things. It's inevitable for those that are going to stay where they are. But I think that it's melding, and I think a lot more people are ready. We are in that camp that a lot more people are actually ready to be, prepared and understand what's going on. That's why kind of what we do.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, I know. I was trying to think what to ask in this. I was trying to refine it down to a specific thing here. Off-world contacts.
Yeah.
What are your off-world contacts that I want to say beneficial off-world?
Oh, I would say probably about a dozen regular that are IG Senate contacts that I'm either meet or see when I'm in briefings, which there's usually two tables, and we're getting a briefing from we're briefing them, they're briefing us. It's a shared briefing where this is what we've brought to the table to discuss today.
Mhm.
What do you have for us today, so that we can talk about what kind of transitionary things we're trying to prepare for. So a lot of the conversations that I, with special sections, senior officers that I end up participating in, that are really just, they're just going to call it what it is. They're boring diplomatic meetings,
Yeah.
right? There's literally nothing I could talk about that would be exciting. There's nothing I could talk about that it's like, and then in paragraph 7, I mean, they're boring, but they're also, but I also say that, I've said this before, that actually, if you made a movie about like real diplomacy, it would just be an 8-hour movie of guys at a table, like sharing papers and talking about stuff. It would be the most boring thing in the world. But diplomacy is still the most important thing in the world, and it's just not very exciting when it happens. It's much more exciting to watch Tom Cruise kill aliens than to watch Tom Cruise come in and say, "I'm going to negotiate the crap out of this."
It's just like they made fun of that on both Family Guy and Robot Chicken, where they were showing the prequel Star Wars movies. Will this galactic bill get passed? And it's like I about died laughing because I knew what they were doing. And so yeah, I wanted to bring that up. And also they did in Futurama, they did the whole dupe council with the galactic.
Right.
They were making fun of them too.
Right,
So
right.
I about died laughing when they did that.
Council, yeah.
The dupe council. That's just great.
That
That's why I love when they add humor to that, because they're making fun of somebody specific.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like with the Packlets in Star Trek, when they said, "And we make this ship go." That stuff, I was rolling on the floor because I knew they were making fun of some badass somewhere and they're making them look retarded. But that's a disclosure there, folks, and we know the humor in that. But also more specific, like family members, loved ones out there, ET wise.
Yeah. I mean, my son's a half-breed. I mean, I'm human Terran. His mother is Sonoran, so my son is half non-Terran. I got my own half-breed sons.
Well, where is the Sonoran homeworld? Where
So normally I'd be able to point, but since we're in a state I'm not familiar, I would have to get out my tablet that has my star chart in it, and then I could point. So I believe So Cassiopeia.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the knee, which means the knee, is called Rudak or Rudaush. I mean, I often it's a Persian word, and so I often get it wrong. And so if someone looks at it, that's not what it says. I get it wrong all the time. But it translates as the knee, and so that's the star system. Sonara is right in there.
I was told. Yeah, there was the Nazis. I can't remember what the base was called, where it was in the W formation.
Oh,
where
yeah.
Hitler was getting assistance from Cassiopeia and made the base look like the Cassiopeian star system, so they knew where to drop supplies before.
Yeah, interesting.
Another races in the treaties got wind of this and went, "Hey, we know what you're doing." And there was another group that came in that looked like us that actually bounced things up by assisting the United States and Great Britain during World War II. They're like, reptilians, you can't do this crap, so we're gonna, to honor the treaties, they stepped in to balance the scales out. And then they backed up after that into the periphery. But I encountered them. They looked human. They looked like World War I, World War II soldiers.
Right.
They called themselves the Mosen, but I don't believe that's their actual name. But they based it on a town that they happen to have a base within, and that's, I believe it's Mosen, Switzerland, Mosen, Sweden.
Switzerland, I think, is right.
Yeah, Switzerland. They said that's where they happened to. I believe they named it after where they were.
Okay.
Where they retreated.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the people do mistake them for ghost soldiers all the time on battlefields and stuff, but they're actually helping clean the energies up and everything. And they're in a different frequency with tech.
Sure.
And people get a photograph of them and they just look like a ghost. And people say, oh, this is a World War I soldier, World War II soldier. They're actually an alien. So I was spotted. My mother spotted one in an old uniform and an old gas mask, like mustard gas.
Yeah.
And my mother's telepathic too, so she saw this transparent soldier walk up to the window one time, or walk up to the door, because something had burned in the oven, and she was fixing it and everything. We see all of a sudden she's looking out the door of this guy going, "Hey ma'am, can you turn the heat down please?" And he was just, because they were introducing themselves, I figured they'd joke. And she's like, "The hell? Who's the guy in the gas mask?" And she pointed out, as I'd just been introduced to them, they're everywhere. They're doing all the. They said they are from the Sonaran system as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they said there's a worker class type one where they build things, and then there was there's the soldier ones. They said they're from that system, just a different planet.
Yeah. They're not the only civilized planet in that system. In fact, most systems in the galaxy have more than one civilized.
They say they weren't like the knee. There was a Persian-like group that was on the knee. And they said they were up a ways.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The neighboring system then.
Yeah, they're in the neighboring system. They get along. It's just
that, They get along with most of their neighbors pretty well, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they look like us, except their eyes are different. You used to say the squiggle eyes.
It's like kind of like an S, like a swirly S, but not. I mean, I say yes, but no. Like if I drew a picture with an S in it, that wouldn't be right. Mm-hmm. Maybe more like a backwards Z than an S, but it's because it's not as loopy, but it's. Anyway.
Yeah, they got irked when I called them goat eyes. So it's like, I was like, you have goat eyes. What did you just say to me?
That's probably a little offensive. Yeah.
Apparently it meant something else when I said goat, so it was like...
Oh, yeah.
When I used the word goat, that's what they were getting at. I'm like, what? It's like almost like a racial slur to a couple of them. I said, I meant goat as in the way their eyes are. Oh, yeah, okay. What is it to you? Oh, basically, you were just, it's loosely translated, they said you were just calling us ugly or something like that. It's like...
No, saying someone's a goat is like saying that they're really unattractive.
They're basically...
What a goat,
I was just saying the type of eyes, they're like, for one, you didn't even come close. They were making fun of you because they felt I made fun of them.
Yeah. Nice try, sick burn, dude. Right.
And we have some of their soldiers come by in a different frequency periodically. Every now and again, I'll hear them hooting and hollering or doing something. I was like, what'd you do? Oh, there was a naked person in that house. Really? I'm like, okay. They did it to me. They have some of the female soldiers go through. I'm like, okay. Obviously, there's a Mosen contingent going through here, but they gave me that name as more of a buffer. I don't believe that's the actual name, but yeah.
The languages are, to be honest, they're difficult to speak. They're we're used to, I mean, even Terran languages, there's certain languages that are way harder if you started speaking a certain language. So for Westerners, Asian languages are like brutal hard, but if you're speaking Asian language, you're never going to learn a Gael. Like, you're never going to learn a Gaelic tongue like that.
No, it's too hard for them.
You're never going to be able to make the pronunciation from one to the other. Tonal languages, you know, or cow, all mean a different thing, right? You know, so. Yeah.
They also told me, like Elena and Vessa, I interact with them a lot too. Elena is half human, half this elfish type. And Vessa is half human, half, you could tell there's like a Persian dialect in there somewhere. And they're actually a couple, they live on a place called Lanulos. It's a dimensional space. They said there's an aperture on the other end of the dimensional space. They built a planetary construct out in Galactic Federation territory.
That's common.
And they said they had to build something on the other end of the dimensional space. And they said most planets have a dimensional opening of some kind. And so they just, they didn't have one, they had the dimensional space first, so they just turned around, overlaid the dimensional space and created a construct.
Okay, that's clever. That works.
And they said they are descendant lineages from travelers that first came here a long time ago, but they went into a dimensional space. This coincides with the Visitors from Lanulos by Woodrow Derenberg, and also Charles J. Hall's Walking with Tall Whites. They said that is the same story. They said they settled the Vegas area sometime in the late 1800s. They told me all this, and they said they even have a city that other humans occupy with them, and all of this. And Vessa speaks with this Persian-like accent. Elena is more like our own here. And they basically said they're not always speaking English either. And when they're around me, my brain is hearing it. They kept saying I had an old out-of-date implant that was translating the languages, but I had like a Mach 1 and they have like a Mach 30 now. And they make fun of me over that sometimes, like, hey, you have an old one. So Isaac usually does that, but I had one.
Want me to send it to your flip phone, dude?
I have the equivalent to one of those car phones, those big, heavy phones. And they said that's partially how they're talking, but it's mainly overall telepathy. My brain's actually doing the translating. And but I thought that was pretty funny that I had the old car phone. They basically, Isaac is saying at the moment you have the earlier cell phone just prior to the smartphone. I heard that from, but I think we're at the stage now on the show where we can bring someone in here, and I'm assuming it's Isaac because he's looking right at me. So, I could describe him. He looks like me, clean shaven, and he has large red hair. Like we nickname him Carrot Top sometimes, and I thought it was like a lion's mane at first, but it was like, but his brother is the hair is down like how mine is here, and but Isaac, get in here. Okay, don't just stand in the doorway like a creeper. Come here. I know he's in the building somewhere, as I can sense his telepathic field. True benevolent. So, true benevolent Isaac, if you want to talk to Colonel Cramer. He acts like he knows you, like he's like an old buddy or something. I don't really know.
Anything's possible.
Or he may have met you in passing or something. So.
I have to readily admit, I don't remember everybody I've met. I've met too many people.
Oh gosh, how can anybody?
In a 30-year tour. So I often, if someone says that they know me or they've met me, I'm like, tell me the story. And sometimes I can go, yeah, that does sound like me. That was probably versus that. I would, even in my worst day, I would never say or do that, so I might have to disagree. But if they say something, I have to go, yeah, that does sound like something I would say or do. And I'll concede to them, yeah, you're probably right, we probably have met. Sorry I spit on you. I ran into this kid who had been a soldier in a corporate program. And he was saying that, we were at a jump room getting ready to go outgoing, but we had to queue up and wait for an incoming. And he says it was a teammate, you guys, and you came off and you're dirty and sweaty and walked past, these corporate guys, and he walked right past me, look at me, and said, corporate piece of shit, and spit in my face, and then kept on walking. And I had to say, well, I can't say that I have any direct recollection of that incident, but it is exactly the kind of thing I would have done, so I'll concede that probably happened.
All my marbles aren't back in place either, so it's like,
That's funny.
yeah.
Since it's exactly what I would have done under the circumstance, he's probably right, but
Some people
I don't
say they have
remember
dreams
it.
about me, and memories come back about me, being a guard around some Nachtwaff and group
Right.
and stuff like that, and patrolling around with other ones. I was like, okay, that's conceivable that you know that, because that's true. I don't remember every little teeny thing. So, okay, Isaac, why are you standing back like a creeper? Come in here. All right, let's see. I know you're not in the room, really. I understand. Okay. Not that fast. Okay. Yes, this is actually quite fascinating. It's actually not often that he speaks to those in the programs in this particular way. I and my brother Thorsden, we worked out of both Barstow and Luke Air Force bases, respectively, where we attempted to crack others' programming. He likes to call it the Death Star maneuver, putting the flaws in the Death Star by the engineers and scientists. We did this. Some Air Force people caught on, and then we were subsequently told to retire. So we were actually actively working around military. They actually more kept us on for quite a long time. It was more like almost like a slave position, but I shouldn't say almost. It was. But technically, me being a member of Lanulos, I had what the equivalent to a green card, sort of. Mm-hmm. But then they revoked this, and I was sent home subsequently. And Thorsden too. He's the one that looks more human than I do. He looks more like himself. I was an extremely pale white and have aqua-colored eyes, large red hair. My mother was E.T. Relatively E.T. had quite larger eyes. Looked human, but the eyes were at least 3-4 times as large. Kind of weird by human standards. She's more of a galactic whore, actually. I won't get into that too much, but she'd like to take the seed of others and use it. But not convenient, let's just say. Anyway, I will get into some more specifics. I was also within his own SSP history as well. He was boarding a Nachtwaffen vessel, and I was the one that was logging the different soldiers that came aboard the ships and making sure that they didn't break protocol. As in, they were supposed to be in more of a stasis sleep. Every now and again, one would come out, and I had to put them back. Quite inconvenient, actually. He woke up halfway through it, and I basically scared him back into his little coffin deal. But with this, though, I do recognize you. It's just that we didn't actually formally know one another. It's more on an energetic soul type of deal. It's not necessarily SSP history. But I was around the same location some of you were, because I was in some of the Nachtwaffen vessels and also U.S. Air Force as well. In some instances, certain lines crossed, certain streams crossed, let's just say. Thorsden out of Barstow, he acted as an MD on the surface, basically more of eyes and ears on the surface world. I was mainly underground. In the bases there, mainly out of Luke, and also some down towards Phoenix as well, in some of the more proofing grounds further south. And also now Elaine and Vesa are up more past Vegas, and I sometimes mingle with some of the tall white contingents up there. I can come and go, but with limitations. I can physically come and go with limitations. there is a dimensional doorway in the Valley of Fire that I do use. It's an ancient doorway. If we use that one, it gets around the galactic loop. It gets a galactic loophole. So if we would use a registered one that's out in the system in the lanes, forget about it. So that one we're allowed to as long as it's already in place, and they consider it broken anyway. We found a way to temporarily use it. So it's more of a back door, like a back screen door or something like that. That's ancient, many millennia old. It's a big stone circle with a big eyeball in the center of it. That is a piece of technology that's just been overgrown with foliage and other sediment. But it still works on certain times of year. It still works. It's not on the same meridian it used to be, but it does work if it's temporarily refocused and realigned. Then it closes again. And it is kept locked from the reverse side. It's like with anything. It is kept locked. So, do you have questions for me?
Ooh, I have so many personal questions, but let me ask something that's a little more public first.
Of course.
So I know we were discussing some of the compulsory compliance efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Would you concur or have an alternative point of view on whether or not my intergalactic Senate contacts have been providing reliable, accurate information for me to regurgitate to folks?
Like a specific nugget of information?
Let's just say as a packet of information. How I consider this information to be highly trustworthy. Is that placed well or misplaced to consider it highly trustworthy?
Your contacts can be trusted to at least 85-90%.
Right, that's good, yeah.
But that remaining 10-15%, they fluctuate, or they could, like you would say, changing on a dime.
I'd expect that from any bureaucrat, sure, yeah.
Yes. Bureaucrats are boring, as you said. Except when they start screaming at one another and throwing stuff, then,
That gets very exciting. Yes.
Yeah, then it gets exciting. It turns into a Jerry Springer moment. Everybody starts clapping, and then we get done. But with this, yes, I would say 85 to 90% on that remaining 10 to 15 is the variances and changes within their. They wake up one morning or get off on the wrong side of the bed, and they're like, no, I don't like that. Well, I love this. That's basically where that variance comes.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So then, as I am to understand, as the situation of compulsory compliance currently exists, there is a time limit for those being offered plea bargains to accept that plea bargain before trials will be set, will be dated and set. So would you concur if I had been told that window of time is maybe about 6 to 8 months?
Not public trials.
Right. No. These would be all very private and very secretive, I'm sure.
Absolutely correct. It would be like one day you have some rich dipshit in some house somewhere,
Right.
and one day there does nothing.
He just moved out. Yeah.
He just moved out, and the house is vacant for 6 to 8 months.
Yes.
That's how it would look on the surface.
Okay.
Your assessment is accurate as far as that goes.
Okay, good.
They will never do public trials.
Right,
ever.
right.
These are more like drumheads,
Yes.
essentially.
Absolutely.
So yes, you are correct. We have been showing him this for months as far as more fictional scenarios in his head, where his imagination took him to places like sticking someone on a penal colony, but they're free to do there what they want.
Right.
And this is what we were showing him over about a 6 to 8 month period.
I've heard absolutely the same thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then my next question would be, would you, again, concur or have a different assessment of maybe a 12-month, 1 year-ish period of time until we are entering into the reconstruction phase, or do you think that's going to take longer? I'm just curious on your assessment or opinion, not necessarily a known fact. I understand predicting the future is complicated, but an assessment based on known variables at the time, does that seem like a fairly accurate point of date, or would you feel that a different assessment would be in your...
Slightly different. Think about something this way. With your timeline of events, you were talking about the 3 nukes and whatnot.
Right.
Think of this way. Instead of taking something the most destructive and causing the most destructive power, would you not restructure structures in the background to already be armed up for something to occur without anything really being damaged? You see?
Definitely, yeah.
Your reconstruction is already happening as a pre-construction. You see?
Okay, that's fair. It's a fair answer.
Pre-construction. Do I agree with the nuke thing? No, I do not believe that radioactivity will happen because the dimensional forces around you won't allow any to be detonated. Though they say this, but it damages their dimensional spaces. They remember the Atlantean time frame and the creations of your like Bermuda Triangle and whatnot. They do not wish this again at all. And also your Chernobyl is spewing out temporal fractures like crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They do not want this in any way, shape, or form. So you would see more than likely more missiles and bombs being deactivated. If they see one being launched, they will try to shut it down.
Okay, good.
That would be as he assessed Gary Seven, the operative, very much like Valiant Thor in the Star Trek series, making it look like it was going to happen and then fizzle out. That would be more your optimum scenario.
Right.
No, even we in Lanios do not want this because we would feel the repercussions.
Certainly, yeah.
We're here with you in the same space-time, just a different frequency, you see. In that dimensional space. All these dimensional spaces are wrapped around you like threads. And they have walls between them. Nuclear bombs threaten to disintegrate those walls. Yeah, and what would happen is our dimension would bleed into yours, and this would be very, very bad, where some structures would then fuse into your world, and then if another structure is occupying the same space as another in the same space-time here, they would fuse into one another. If that happened, we do not wish this.
Right. It's so. Just one thing to add on to that. So we were told, this is going to sound like it's going off topic, but it's talking about what nuclears do and how they reach into space-time and break things. So we've had this discussion before about what they're looking at Skinwalker Ranch, and from what we've been told, and Isaac, if you can comment on that, and just another good example is that when those wars back at that time occurred, and some of those bombs went off, it ripped a space-time and pushed through debris and stuff from the war under Skinwalker Ranch. That's where it was starting to break through.
It fused with the rocks. Yeah,
and so it's. I think it's an interesting dilemma for them, because if they dig and they're going to be like, what is this? What is this? But instead of something landing there that was buried, this was stuff that was pushed through, through a time loop that actually landed underneath. And I'm sure there's some people that already realize what that is, but I think it would cause also a lot of confusion for those trying to figure it out. How did all this?
It's like your Trek episode where they had the phased cloak and they got fused. The ships got fused in the rock. And this is what would also happen if dimensional barriers were crossed. It's based on those lines. This is why a nuclear option is not wanted. There are timeline shifts and multiversal shifts and things of this nature. You call it Mandela effect. We do not want something of that option. Granted, it could happen somewhere in the multiverse. That's always an option. Opposites, but infinite diversity, infinite combinations. But within this specific timeline string here, you have, as I said, preparing, and we also showed this to him in a game aspect in his head. He didn't understand why he was imagining this the entire time. He will in about less than 30 seconds here. because he was imagining as he was playing his Skyrim video game, where he would then prepare like people with different like metals from the programs, like blacksmithing and doing all these things and just selling things to merchants and slowly putting things out there. I was actually showing him this is what is going on. What you do is you prepare people for the event. Something happens by slowly making it available to them.
Right.
And buildings are being upgraded. The infrastructure is slowly being changed, just gradually, millimeters and centimeters, they would say, to withstand something big. Even with any solar events or anything like that, load that aside, ETs coming down in Butthurt, that aside, this is actually more apt. But the thing of it is, the programs that are working on this don't really gives a rat's ass what's voted on, who tells them what to do, not to do. They're just going to do it whether anybody likes it or not. And he even was being shown if he was in a position like this, how would he act? How would he present himself? What covert op or secret would be revealed? Which one would be kept in the background? I hate to say this to himself, but there are others out there that were actually testing his response, or is either visceral or logical to that response, or to that visual stimuli. Sometimes he thinks it's imagination, but it's really memory and it's really transmission, even though that comes through the same area, and he's adept at telepathy. But sometimes we can get one in there that he thinks is some other thought as well. This happens to be this. Any questions?
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
Well, just to add to it. So I find it interesting because every time I hear, some of the things again that we were talking about, in my mind, it always goes through. It is there to give people an opportunity to say, no, we don't want this. But I find it very interesting what you're saying, and I am curious specifically to this event regarding the nukes, knowing that it would not be tolerated by certain parties. Okay, bottom line, it's just really, there's things that won't be tolerated by the other interdimensional ones that are right here with us. What was the objective to get Colonel Cramer to say these things? What was the objective of the hierarchy? That, in your perspective, this is just your perspective, of why would they want him to transmit that information out?
It's not wrong. It is an actual, it's not necessarily a regurgitation, it is actually of something that is on the table.
Okay.
It is not wanted.
Okay.
I must specify this.
Okay.
It's not wanted. Just because somebody wrote it up and thinks it's brilliant doesn't mean it's wanted. You see, they can pull a Gary 7 without actually exploding a bomb. You see, so there are others that are formulating things in the background. You were not lied to in this respect. It is actually something that is on the table.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's just that they didn't tell you all of the specifics that they could deviate.
Also true and expected. Yeah.
No insult to you. It's a compartmentalization.
No, I think it's an important
Yeah,
question to clarify, because either they did it as an objective, or again, as you're saying, it really is an option. But again, but there was going to be objections to it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, no one seemed happy about it. No one seemed like, yay, we're going to let 3 nukes happen. No one seemed like they liked that idea. It just seemed like that was where the standard of where the line was being drawn. That's all I know.
And for expediency, because again, what you were saying is that it would help speed things along, because there is a thought process that, as you were saying, that yes, would there be some deaths, would there be some of that, but in calculating it out from the plan, that going another path could potentially mean even more. And so I get it, I get everything that was said, but I think again it's an interesting perspective, as we've always said, that people cannot imagine the numbers of different groups that are a part of this, to have a say in this.
Sure, yeah.
And it is interesting to hear I believe the genuine pushback, like that option would do everything to stop, because it really would be detrimental to us.
Now, I cannot promise, though, that someone, we do, whenever we make reference to a Gary 7 move, this is what we're speaking about.
Right.
Where he explodes at 110 miles over the earth to prevent an arms race.
Right.
That kind of move, I cannot promise would not happen.
Yeah.
It would be necessary to jumpstart, but does it need to be this big, massive nuke? I don't know. It's basically something that comes close, gone. Comes close, and gone. People get spooked enough to go, wait a minute, we don't want another one. This is the whole.
Sure, yeah.
But yes, compartmentalization is going on as well. And it is necessary, I know, to be able to conduct ops, but there are other factions that you're unaware of that are in operation.
Oh,
as
I'm
well.
sure that's true.
Yeah, they've spotted at least a dozen. So a few of them that the program that I was a part of at the time had to help quell when they first moved here. These were Army guys that would have turned into another faction because they discovered alien tech. They were regular Joe Schmo soldier that came across alien tech, and we couldn't let them have it.
Sure.
We did not want another faction that was going to go gung ho. We're going to do that. No, you're not. No, so that was one of the things that I was also in charge of. Thorsden hung back, did his medical thing. I helped him with this, but then I also did some archiving as well. I do this within the Galactic Federation. If you saw my uniform, it's more of the archivist department. The more nerdy side, but I did get involved into the not boring things. The two ladies, they do this for a living. They want more excitement out of that. This is one of the most boring jobs you could ever want, unless you're the Coke bottom glasses guy that gets off on reading the Dewey Decimal System. So this is that guy. That guy we steer clear of if that's the thing. But also the one that want the nuclear option on the table. If they get off on that, that's when we scoot our chairs just a little bit to the right and left, away from that person. But
Sure, yeah.
there is a sense of urgency that I must detach at the moment. So I must end this channel at the moment. But I thank you.
Oh, thank you. No, that was really like that. That was right what I needed to know. That was the second opinion I really needed. Thank you very, very much. I am deeply grateful and appreciative of that.
And I may creepishly pay you a visit from time to time.
That's fine. You're welcome to. Let me also put the open offer that if you feel like there is information about this path that I have asked that is really important for me to know, you can come back to me at any time with something that I needed or pass the message along. If you feel I'm missing something and you wish to add, please feel free at any point to add.
Yeah, I will. I now have an open invitation to creep you out in the middle of the night.
Yes, you do. You absolutely do. Free invitation, yes.
All right. There we go. So, I thank you all for listening and to the public portions of this. Thank you. Ooh, it's blue in here. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. His eyes are turquoise.
Sure.
So like a piece of solid turquoise.
So cut this off.
Okay. Give me a minute. I'm going to close I have to close the circle. So. All right. Thank you, Randy, for being on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
you
you
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And at this point in the show, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. But right now, I now close the circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now. Okay, what topic did you want to do?
I don't care. Whatever you want, man.
So I think let's not assume that everybody knows you or has listened to your stuff.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I just we'll introduce you, let you talk just a little bit about yourself, and then
I'm thinking of focus on different alien types or something like that, you know.
what do you? Oh yeah, I didn't ask you. How did you read the room when you did your presentation? What did you decide?
Oh, so when Rion and I were talking at breakfast yesterday, I was like, all right, I'm going to like this, or this is kind of going on, and he was Rion, so he was just like, dude, go big or go home. And like yeah, you can talk about that anytime. Yeah, you can talk about that anytime. But I was like, this is your opportunity for your soundbite. Doesn't matter what anybody else wants to say.
Right.
And he was just like, go with the big one. And so I've been really hesitating whether I should just fill people in on what we understand is happening with the compulsory compliance that we're going through.
Okay.
So basically what I did is in my own humorous way, I said, well, if any of you'd actually been following along on my YouTube channel the last few years and you knew what was going on, you would have heard this already, but since you haven't, I'll update you. September 5, 2023, we had a system breach.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a red alert. And so I called up and I'm talking to my daughter, who's the liaison of the ship, and I was like, I just got a red alert. Is it an important one or is it a not important one? And she was very serious, like dead serious, and it was like, we had a system breach. And I was like, oh, you mean like they're here, system breach? Because we knew that a fleet was on its way. There was a lot of questions. Good fleet, bad fleet, invasion fleet, insect fleet, lots of, I think on purpose, smoke screens, to be honest with you, so that we didn't really know what was happening until it happened. Mm-hmm. And she says, yeah, they're here. And I says, how many? And she says, well, we're so far unable to count the number of ships. Mm-hmm. That's how many millions of ships we were talking. Mm-hmm. And she said, but we're estimating a population arrival of over 15 billion.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord. Well, that'll leave a mark.
Oh, this gets really good, actually. So,
do you want to do this on film?
I'd be redoing my talk yesterday.
I think if you want to talk, we're okay with talking about, but again, we can't talk forever. The goal is to make this an hour show.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk again about the concepts of, there's so much out there, some that is great, some that is not so great, and want to kind of bring a little bit of this in, we're fine with that, and we can.
Let me see if I can give you the short version in 5 minutes. The short version is, so these are our friends and neighbors and our family members mm-hmm. who are tired of watching, the children get beaten in the crack house. Mm-hmm. Metaphorically speaking, we're all the children getting beaten in the crack house right now. It's not about the children, we're all the children, right? And so apparently in some months before they got here, a bunch of them, on this end said, we're getting a group together and we're going to visit the Terrans. Anyone who wants to come, and so they picked up more and more and more as they came along. Intergalactic Senate had been locked up in votes because there's always we should let them, we should do this slow, we should get in. I mean, you've always got the voices mm-hmm. and so as they're building this flotilla to come this way, they're like, well, we're going to enforce lawful compliance. And you should probably vote that this is a good thing. Vote that we're doing this because we're doing it anyway.
That's interesting.
Okay.
This sounds like right up your alley of what you've been asking for.
I want to say it was 6 months to the asteroid belt, and then another 9 months or something, to get closer in, and it's just been boom, 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 boom. Nachtwaffen, they're done. I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't think their fleet has enough ships to be called a fleet anymore.
That's a good thing.
Oh, it's such a good thing. Yeah, this is so good. So all of these people are now here. We're in lockdown, planetary lockdown. No one is coming in or out. Okay? No one's coming in or out. Now, because we're in is that on yet?
Yes. It's been on.
Okay, then I'll be careful to say this part that I don't want to say too out loud. There are those who are string pullers. Mm-hmm. And I won't use the names that people often use to describe them because I don't think those are accurate. Mm-hmm. Those people are being given an option. You must come into lawful compliance with this situation. So you have a choice. You may take with you when you leave a certain percentage of your gold, a certain percentage of your ships, a certain percentage of your servants and slaves, a tiny percentage. And then you will leave and not return. And some of them are like, yeah, okay, we're out. Because if they don't want to comply, they don't want to agree to comply, and they don't want to take any of these compliance choices, we get over to this choice, which is arrest and trial. So they're getting plea agreements. They're getting plea offers because they'd rather just let them go, just get them out of here. We're not talking about letting them free. We're talking about banishing them to some other corner of the galaxy where they won't be able to do anything to anyone ever again. But they can go live on their own little play, and but they're done. So compulsory compliance.
This fits what I've been being shown.
Right.
So
we're in that process, right? And there are, of course, a few who are like, I won't let you have it over my dead body!
Right.
And we will, right? We will. So this is where we are, compulsory compliance. And so when compulsory compliance gets done, or now that we're sorting out the kitty fights between the geo-globalists, right? As serious as Russia, Ukraine, Iran, as serious as all that is, that's the kids fighting in sandbox, throwing turds at each other. It's not any of the real grown-up fighting in the world that we're talking about at all. So they're sorting that out, and I have been told that the red line right now is 3 bombs. So when 3 nukes go off, they're going to let 3 go off, probably 1 in Russia, 1 in America, and 1 in other. That's when the whistle goes off, the yellow flag goes up, and everything stops. And I was like, why 3? And they said, well, because it was kind of determined that children don't learn not to touch hot stoves unless they burn their fingies. So we feel like that you're just going to have to burn your fingers on this one. And 3 is a good number to burn your fingers so that you stop touching the hot fucking stove.
And that's like Star Trek, the Gary Seven narrative, where he basically wants to scare people out of an arms race.
Right. Yeah. So that's where we're at. That's what's happening. And so what it really focused on, though, was that in 2019, my brigadiers, which is the very early days of COVID, it hadn't even really gotten, it was just coming out. And people were saying, what's happening? And my brigadier says to me, stage 1, pandemic stage. Stage 2, civil disruption stage. Stage 3, nuclear war stage. Stage 3, at that time he said alien invasion stage. I think the more accurate term is alien intervention stage. And then stage 5 is the reconstruction phase. So what I really spent most of the time talking about was what stage 5 looks like. Why all of this has happened, but instead of focusing on this is what's going to be war, I was like, no, what we really want to look forward to is stage 5, that we're so close to stage 5. And I started out with this one. How many decades do you think it's going to take to build enough hospitals to be able to give medical care to every single citizen on the planet? Guess.
How many would need to be built if we had the real tech, or no?
Yes. It's how long do you think it would take?
Probably just a few per country, but it would take probably what?
Decades.
I don't see that.
To be able to service every single person in every location on the planet who has to be able to get to that hospital. You can't have them 1,000 miles away from everybody.
Okay.
They got to be within walking distance of every single person on the planet.
Okay.
So how long does it take to build all those hospitals?
Well, it would take them forever, the way things
At least
are going.
50 years more.
Right. So isn't it awesome that they just have to land the hospitals?
Oh, sure.
Isn't it awesome that they don't have to build all the new housing? They just have to land the new housing?
So this is in contradiction to what we've been told and everything about how things would really operate. So I am curious, because I will say that.
Yeah, when we bring someone in a little bit, yeah.
Well, I'm saying that, but I'm saying in general, because we actually had visions of 1 nuke going off, and it was going to be in Canada, unfortunately.
Toronto, we saw this
Interesting.
dirty bomb going off in Toronto, but it was also sucking people's energy dry. This was a different one. It caused a dimensional rift.
So we were hoping we weren't on that particular time. Let's just say jumping.
I haven't heard anything about that. So I mean, this brief I got was like 2 weeks old. They're like three bombs.
So the problem is, so when you talk about this stuff with us, what my mind goes, and I want to put the information out because I want humanity to not agree with it. to say we're not doing it the nuclear bomb way. We're not
We're
going to
going to
allow things
co-create
like-
differently.
We're going to
Sure.
co-create differently. So our spin on it would be, this is what we're hearing, but if we can learn to co-create together, then we can basically say that is not acceptable. The collateral damage to humanity is not acceptable. There can be another way. That's kind of, I just need to put that up front to you because
Oh, sure.
that's kind of where, and again, that's where we are, to listen to all the information and then what do you really want to occur? Do you really want, it's like, the warring in Ukraine, and I agree with what you said, but real people are dying.
Oh, absolutely.
And so
Oh my God,
when do
yes.
you want this to stop?
Right.
See it stopped and whatever. So the whole concept of I think the alien invasion is now off the table, but
Well, I think it's an intervention.
right. No, I
don't
hear
think
what you're
it's an
saying,
invasion,
and it's very interesting because I will say that we have, and you agree. How many times have we called up? When are you guys going to take a stand, kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
And so I
It's
feel
like
that,
they are preparing for something.
so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so in that sense, it's wonderful. It's wonderful that it was just regular Joes out there without approval saying we're putting a posse together.
Yeah, we just do
And
it.
we're going to do it, and that's wonderful. But I think I just want to be clear. Instead of hopping on a bandwagon saying, "Well, this folks is going to go down," this is what we tell people to do with all the news. Say no, 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 no. It is not going to go down that way because I said so. And if everyone did that, the energies would change in a different way. So you need to know, obviously, that we would try to take this information and deliver it to people and say, what do you want to happen? And if you don't want this, then you must, as a whole collective, try to do what you can do to push the energies in another alternative direction. Because
and I'm all in favor of people doing that.
Yeah.
I'm simply reporting the information
Correct.
that has been informed to me, which is that regardless of whether what I want,
Right.
what you want, what
Right.
anybody else wants, people in
It's just information, yeah.
a much higher decision-making
Right.
hierarchy have decided 3's their limit.
Correct. So, but we hope none of it occurs in
Sure.
another way. So I guess what I'm saying, because we're just really getting to know each other, is that we take all of that information that comes in and love it.
But we
love
take it very
love
seriously.
Oh,
and then the goal is for us is to say to folks, what do you really want of this? What do you really want to happen? Hopefully enough will say, no, that is not actually what we want to see, because this is how people were co-opted. The news, there's going to be a war, there's going to be a war, there's going to be a war, and everyone's like, well, I guess there's going to be a war. You've just now created that energy to also accept a war.
Right.
So,
Well, but we're already in a war.
Yes,
the
we
war
are.
is
we've
already
never-
happening.
Well,
so
we've never been out of a war.
Yeah, we've
obviously.
always been in one.
So, but
Yeah.
I'm only saying that so that we're clear
Yeah, yeah.
amongst
Oh, sure.
ourselves
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how,
yeah.
We probably should open this
Yeah.
up proper.
Okay.
I would just say that we clearly haven't been able to manifest ourselves out of this happening so
True.
far.
So far.
So I'm just saying that's their red line. I would love to see no nukes. I would love to see it another way.
No,
but
no,
I have no
I
idea what's
agree
going
with
to actually
everything,
happen.
but people need
We're about to find out. Is what I keep telling people. We're about to find out.
We're about to
what's
find
about
out,
to happen.
and I think there's nothing wrong with anything that you've said. I just want people to know that we are here to learn how
Oh,
to
yeah.
co-create together.
Absolutely.
And so, do you really want this or not? And in your mind, have a say about it. That's all.
Oh, no, I-
want all of this to come out.
Yeah, and I think people should put their best efforts in.
Yes, yes.
Let me make a argument that is really about the legal protocols here, right?
Mhm.
That there are certain conditions under which they can act.
Correct.
And one of the things that they were saying that they were going to do, which is sort of what made me mad, was they told me to say we're having a disclosure window that it's going to happen. And I was like, oh, it's going to happen? Well, I told you not to tell me that if you didn't really mean it.
Right.
So they're, no, we mean it. And I was like, okay. So I
Right.
start telling everybody that it's going to happen.
No, as you should.
And then it doesn't. And then I have to find out 3 months later.
Right.
Because they said, well, we were going to do this handoff
Right.
to the outgoing administration and then to the
Right.
incoming administration, and they both took a pass.
Right.
And I was like, what was your motivation? And they're like, well, we just...
Right.
So it was an on-purpose fumble.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say, okay, we're doing our job now, which is handing this off to you. Oh no, we fumbled the ball. So that we could get to compulsory compliance.
Right.
Because if they'd handed off that football and either administration had actually taken it up and said, I'll deal with it, this would take us 2 more years.
Right.
So the fact that we're doing it the way that they're saying it's unraveling
Right.
is legally the quickest way to compliance, the quickest way to turning over an occupation back to the civilian government
Right.
within 2 years if possible.
Yeah.
So my counter argument to that is as it has been explained to me, again, not
Right.
necessarily my point of view, that the reason they're playing it that way is because it actually legally, contractually, treaty-wise, gets us closer with fewer casualties
Right.
than if we do it another way. So as much as 3 nukes sounds deplorable and awful and unacceptable, it's far less worse than what the alternative would have to be to get us to that compliance place.
Right.
So there's
The minimum line, basically.
yeah, it's like again, as much I'm not any more happy about it than you are.
Right.
But if I'm understanding the way they've explained it to me,
Right.
this is still experts trying to like keep the casualty numbers down as far as possible.
Yeah, I was told
That's the bright side if there's a bright side.
What
Right.
we were told also is like they were trying to get the minimum. They use the word compliance as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Minimum compliance into the galactic community, and that's
And-
the words they use.
And
so.
we know we're not out of
The woods, yeah.
of problems
Oh, no, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
issues
for
and
sure.
surface incidents. We already know that. But just believe me, I so want you to bring forth whatever it is that you are asked to bring forth. And then again, but we have a spin on it because our goal is to help people learn to co-create and do the
Oh, yeah,
best you can
absolutely.
to
Same.
bring things in. So we're not in.
I'm being told to open this up. Probably,
Yeah, we're
so,
not in
yeah.
disagreement. It's just a matter of, I just want you to know how we will spend some of
Totally.
this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, we can. I'll add that at the end. I'll edit that and put that at the end. I'll just say extra content and put that. At the
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
I also believe that as we create reality around us, there's what we can do on paper, and then there's what we can actually really do.
Correct.
And so, as much as I believe that we can change the world and stop events, I think some of this is just out of our hands.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's just out of our hands.
We know better than
Yeah.
that. It's just like, but do the best you can.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're just telling people to sit down, don't
Well, we're
have to
being no
worry about
different
it.
than the news that we're telling them to pay attention, and that's how it is.
Right.
So we have, you have to teach people how to push back if they don't agree.
Which is why I spent most of the time on stage 5, because I'd rather skip this part and go to the reconstruction part and explain why it's awesome and why
Yeah.
it's good and what all the
I'm
transitionary
sorry we
stuff
missed
is.
it,
Yeah, I'm sorry we missed that, man. That's like.
but maybe
You can
we'll
watch. You'll be able
see
to
it.
watch the recording
Yeah,
of
we'll
it.
see
Yeah. Nate recorded it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was looking up more of that fort in, not fort, but that Nazi fortress that Hitler started his war machine from, just over the border in Poland. He was there looking for Tartarian technology, the Draco and them, the Darshinians from the knee of Cassiopeia were looking for some of these things. That's when the Mosen and other groups called them the task on it, because they were in violation of galactic treaties. But Hitler was calling them down to that fort that was shaped like a W. It was on a show called What on Earth. That episode's been redacted. I can't find it anywhere in the episode list, nor pictures of the overhead. Now, it was also on Mysteries of the Abandoned. I was, I couldn't, you see it on that show. It's still there. It's in the episode list. But they don't show the name of the place, and they don't show the overhead. I cannot find the name of that fort. If anybody can find the name of that Nazi installation, let me know. It was just over the border in Poland, just before Hitler got going with his Nazi war machine, and where the knee of Cassiopeia is at the bottom. It's not only the planetary location of the people who gave him the supplies, but at the same time, that is where he held the main, where he was making the munitions for his war machine, in that spot. And he was calling to them with a mimic of their constellation. It's like with the Nazca lines, where they're calling to aliens to bring supplies down somewhere in other locations of water, where they could find water easily. But they were telling people above also where to find water as well. As they said in one of the Transformers movies, somebody asked this large ape transformer, "Oh, did you guys make these things?" "Oh, no, this is ingenuity by humans. We're not taking credit for ingenuity by humans." So there is some human involvement, but at the same time, there was also ET involvement. So they're trying to get the gods to come back. That's why they started doing sacrifices. But it was demonic life forms like the Draco that got them into blood sacrifices. The whole Xibalba thing with the Mayans, the whole Merope thing with the Inca, with the big Draco with a weird little hat on, and also the statues that those reptilians are eating the people. Now, so they got into that with the ones that would violate contracts like this, like they did for Hitler. So, yeah, you see what's going on there? So, I wanted to make sure that was put in here as well for the Randy Cramer discussion. Good guy, by the way. Big wealth of information that we concur with big time. I will say that. So, it is 8:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, July 20th. Oh, during the conference, Brad Olson was the one that also talked about the statues. I want to give a shout out to him because we concur with his information as well about the chemtrails and also about the Draco statues and the whole bit. So, and Miles Johnston, we concur with him. Yeah, great. But also one thing I will say with the ET artifacts, though, that skull, when you saw in one recording we saw there was good and one was bad. I will disclaimer this. I believe it's both. It pendulum swings. And then at that point, it's become a Trojan. No offense to Shauna Deese at all. Zero. It's just the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Bigger the edifice, the bigger watch you have to put on it, the bigger eye you have to put on this, the more watch you really have to hunker down and watch those. You have to become its guardian and caretaker. And just like what the Forest people said, not just with files, not with objects, with anything. The more you have, the more you have to guard. It's true of that, too. So, yes, there were evil things there absolutely disrupting through that, but at the same time, there was also good around as well. And not to mention the Princes of the Universe, when I spotted them from some Pleiadian channels that were going on. It was Aldebaran Nordics. It had nothing to do with Pleiadians. These were the ones that were assisting Hitler with the Draco. They're a type of reptilian that you see the scales just in the corner of the eyes. We said that in our Princes of the Universe conversation. Go check that out, the older GIC recording. It's on gic.show in the free section. So, it is 8:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, July 20th, 2025. Thank you. I came to find out that Chernobyl, attached to this conversation with Randy Cramer, found that Chernobyl was one of those scare tactics as well, to show people what they didn't want to happen, and essentially a Gary 7 tactic. Explode the bomb 110 miles over the Earth. Simon Earth is the name of the Star Trek episodes. But the Chernobyl thing is one of those same scare tactics. Okay, the episode was Season 2, Episode 26, Simon Earth. March 29th, 1968 is when it first aired on NBC. Oh, some of these things that we talk about are unpleasant to hear, but it doesn't mean that certain things don't have to occur to trigger this next age or this next stage. To get people, like children, not to touch a hot stove kind of thing. The Gary 7 maneuver, I call it, but it's Simon Earth. Just because it's unpleasant doesn't mean it doesn't have to happen. I'm not talking about nukes. I'm talking about how people need to learn how not to touch a hot stove. So, that I agree. So, and it needs to happen in a bigger way. I've seen certain things in the timelines too, where certain variations of these things happen. It's hard predicting the future, as you heard him say, but yeah, because it's multitudes of timelines. One big thing and a bunch of little fuzzy hairs off of it, where you're mean averaging something in the timelines. If it keeps coming up in the little threads, you got something. This is why I don't like predicting the future. but it's also had to do with a government project he was talking about too. Just know, yeah, I do concur as it's something being on the table. I also concur that you have to co-create differently or manifest differently as well. So it is a little bit of a disclaimer there. But some things are unpleasant to look at, but you got to look at them in order to change them. So you got to look at those shadows in order to shine light on them. So, to be a little bit cliche. So it is 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Thank you.